Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Shooting Left of Center. This is a podcast where I get together with a couple of other gun tubers, usually gun websites, and Never Enough Ammo. I don't know if Never Enough Ammo is back to doing live chats or not. He might be back. He might be here tonight. We don't know. But I know he's had a family emergency recently, so he's been offline for a while. But Gun Websites is here. So everybody say hello to Gun Websites.
Oh, hey, thanks for the invite.
Or G-Webs, I guess. I don't think saying it out loud long ways sounded weird to me.
That's where it all came from, right? It is back in the day. Not all the time.
But this is just where we get together. We talk gun stuff or whatever, whatever you all want to talk about. Got a couple of questions coming in already. Johnny Mandrick has chimed in here and said he wants to know what G-Webs thinks of open carry. I've been very open about my opinion of open carry. What do you think of open carry?
I don't have a problem with it. I don't really have an opinion on it. I mean, I'm not against it or nothing. I can understand it. I don't like the extremes either way. The people that never do it or the people that always do it, because there's a reason, there's a time and a place for it. And if we're gonna normalize guns, then I mean, carrying a cowboy gun, open carry in a holster was cool. Like, you're allowed to do that. Carrying an old nylon 80s SWAT drop leg holster, it's weird, but it's cool. Like, you can do that if you want. I don't have a problem with it, especially if we start getting into
AR on your back and walking around playgrounds is something different.
Well, again, rifles and stuff, I don't got a problem with that. Like I say, if you're trying to prove a point and be weird or whatever, then you know what I mean, people are going to wear weird shirts and walk around and be weird. People are going to do all kinds of stuff and walk around and be weird. That's individuals. That's not the thing they're doing. You know what I mean? So if somebody's going to put a cat on their head and walk around and be weird, it's the act of being weird. That's the weird part. And that if they're doing it inappropriately. But I wouldn't put that on the open carry, because again, I think there's tons of times, like, you know, let's say you're on a motorcycle and you're coming back from shooting or something, or maybe you're out shooting and you just don't want to leave your gun, or I don't know, a million reasons why you're going to throw it on your back to go get a sandwich or something, go get something at the Circle K. Like, that speed should be normalized. Like, I don't think people have to be concerned because they see something that they're not used to, and it's just because they're not used to it.
Where do you fall on the as far as, do you think open carry stops more crime, or does it just make you the target? Like, if you're in somewhere like a Circle K and someone busts in, they're going to rob, or walks in, they're going to rob the place, and they see you with a gun, do you think that means they're going to shoot you first, or do you think that means they're going to be like, well, I'm going to wait till these people are gone before I rob this place because I don't want to get shot at?
I don't believe either one of those happens. That's just all speculation. But if they did happen, if those extremes did happen, then they would cancel each other out. So I don't think it has a difference. People are used to seeing guns half the time, because we got into these things. Man, we're talking about back to some of the first conversations we started having online, because these were things that people would think about and ponder, but there was nowhere to have these conversations in real time until really the internet started allowing these like group conversations that we could share. So, you know, when you're talking, you know, that kind of thing, you know, you get the people that see a gun and they assume you're a cop. So even if it's what a gun person might, you know, competent gun person might consider a sloppy holster or a bad idea holster, or whatever you want to call that, an unaware, you know, just gun unaware person might look at that and assume that you're a cop, because they don't know nothing other than that's a gun on that guy's side. Now, a criminal obviously is the opposite. They're definitely aware with a, you know, devious slant. But again, like I said, you're definitely going to fall victim if you're open carrying like a dumbass to a savvy criminal, and a dumbass criminal is going to be scared of even a dumbass open carrier. It looks like, I feel like they're going to, there's always going to be the, and especially on those like channels that exploit you know, crime and use security camera footage and shit, constantly make all their money doing that, scaring people into having to worry about crime all the time, even though we live in like the safest country in the fucking planet, just about.
It's one of the safest times in one of the safest countries.
Seriously. So you're going to find people that open carry goofy, but I mean, I'm a gun guy, so, and I live in Arizona, so, and I hang out in states where, you know, open carry is no big thing. So I've seen every goofy type of open carry in the world, and I long time ago quit worrying about it. Because if, like, tell you, if there was an issue with, like, if criminals were so savvy and brazen that every time they see somebody sloppy carrying, there'd be way more crime than there is. Like, there's a lot of people that just carry around obliviously and dumbly. And then that's all they can go for, do that. I don't care. Like, I don't care if somebody's carrying their knife dumb. I don't have a problem with it. If they're wearing their shoes untied, it's not my business. Unless they're leaving their gun loaded in front of children or something sloppy, like really, bad, then, they can choose 9mm. That's why I always make fun of 9mm, because I don't have that opinion, or I don't feel like there's a right way to do it and people are doing it wrong. I just think there's a spectrum, and some people just don't care, and some people are just wrong. Like, some people like doing things a dumb way, and it's a free country. So if they want to do it a dumb way, go for it.
And people love to use like, oh, this one instance, this thing happened, or maybe it's happened twice in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's something we should worry about. No.
Oh, especially back in the day, the conversations were like, like the smile and wait for a flash, written on the muzzle of your gun. Like, oh, that's going to take you to court. Like, or, you're going to lose in court. Like, all right, in some thought experiment in the 1990s, yeah. But now, after 29 states have constitutional carry, every single state has concealed carry. We've held all kinds of instances of everything from leave me alone to brandishing to actually gunfights in the street or whatever, to people resisting crime. And has there ever been any kind of thing where, smile and wait for flash was an issue? I mean, we would definitely know about it if it was.
One time something similar, and people made it into something it wasn't, and it was like, remember that guy who was a policeman and he had
a cop, some cop had something
on the little,
and it was more like he got dismissed for owning it, not like
it was like wasn't appropriate for work kind of a thing, not a now you're guilty of murder because your gun said something on it.
But I think that I was thinking about how to make a blog post about this, how to tell my robots to write a blog post about this. But my thing, and I talk about this every Saturday with Tony, and we used to talk about this stuff all the time. I mean, literally, this is a what do you call it, like a Groundhog's Day type of conversation where the gun community is transient. Isn't that the word? Like, people own guns the same way they own a motorcycle or an Atari or, I don't know, some other hobby. Like, most people buy a gun for whatever reason. They got scared, or they got concerned, or they got interested, or they got curious, or they got rich, or whatever. They got given to them, right? There's some reason they got into guns. And then they stick around for a little while, and guns either become too expensive, or their wife doesn't like them, or they got kids, or they just don't have time for it. They're not hunting anymore. They're not competition shooting anymore. Like, all those reasons. And then, maybe 5 years later, 2 years later, they're gone. So we're susceptible as a community to these, I call them exploiters all the time, but basically assholes that can come out of the woodwork every once in a while with the same old fucking story. We can swear over here. It's nice. A lot of chance. I mean, I'm not supposed to swear. But they'll come out with the same old bullshit and exploit the shit out of us. And, us as gun owners, I keep saying that, but really it's like, what, 20% of us have been gun owners for a long ass time. And like 80% of gun owners are here for a while. And that's not good or bad. I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying, like, that's just, I think, the nature of everything. Like, people that own motorcycles own them for a while, and then they eventually get rid of them. People that own horses own them for a while, they get rid of them, move on to the next thing. So I think that, we're susceptible to a lot of shit because of that. And this is the kind of shit, like you're saying, like, somebody will come along and go, hey, remember that one time when that thing happened with that cop? Here's the reason why everybody who's selling you purple gun parts is a problem, and you should buy my black gun parts or my silver gun parts.
Yeah, I've always said, if having a smile and wait for flash on my barrel makes me guilty, or a Punisher on my grips makes me a bad guy, well, then if I have a fluffy bunny on my gun grips, does that mean I can never be convicted? Because nobody who likes bunnies would want to hurt anybody.
Yeah, exactly. I'm always innocent written on my gun means I'm always innocent then?
Yeah, exactly. It's about the shoot. If it's a good shoot, you're not going to be in trouble. If you've put yourself in a situation where it's a gray area, where could he have avoided it? Could he have done this differently? Or was it really, did he egg it on? Well, then that's when you really get into problems, and little other factors matter. But if you're just an innocent person being attacked and you defend yourself, you're not really usually going to face any of this scrutiny that people love to pretend that you face. It's just, they have a crazy idea of what court is actually like. They think that you're going to be in court and the defense or the prosecutor is going to hold up a picture saying, and it said, look, wait for flash on the end of his gun. That kind of shit doesn't happen. All the stuff is going over 100 times before it's ever shown to a jury. And, the defense gets to object, and the judge gets to object, or they get to say, this isn't relevant. This doesn't show mindset. That's like saying he shot somebody while he was wearing a Metallica t-shirt. Well, the Metallica t-shirt isn't relevant. He's a heavy metal guy. Those guys are violent. There's thousands of precedents that show that stuff is irrelevant and inadmissible. And that stuff's all gone through before you ever see the inside of a trial. It's not like what you see in a movie.
Now, to some extent, things have changed too. Like I was saying, there's 50 states with concealed carry, 29 states with constitutional carry, and all the time it's taken to get here, 14, 17, 20 years or something, more than that, I guess. So that means the courts have dealt with stuff. So back in the days when we kind of first started chatting, and when these conversations first started coming up amongst gun people, it was a time when like cops carried, and like maybe somebody who like carried a lot of money around had a concealed carry permit, maybe private detectives, but it was something you seen in TV. Nobody really carried, maybe on your property, or like, and if you had a store or something, some kind of business, but most people didn't carry. So it was all theoretical, and the courts would have looked at somebody with a gun as, what do you call those? Vigilantes.
Vigilantes. Well, that happened with the subway thing. People used that. Remember the subway shooter? And people would say
instances of it, and that's what we based all our shit on. Yeah.
But then they ignored the fact that one of the main reasons he faced a problem wasn't because of the fact he carried a gun and that he shot someone that was attacking him. It's because that had happened to him multiple times. And then he said, today I'm going to make sure to go back and get on the train, but I've got a gun. And I'm waiting for those kids to come do it again because now I'm ready for them. That was why Getz or whatever his name was, that was why it got so much scrutiny, because they're like, okay, this has happened to you multiple times with these same people on the train. And instead of trying to choose a different train or ignore them or call the police, you went and tried to get on the right train where they would be and then took care of business. So that was why it was getting so much scrutiny, because of the motivation there. And then people conflate that to something else. But it's like you were saying too, people learn stuff. It's like with all the states that now have constitutional carry, concealed carry, all these things that didn't before. Well, they've been learning now since they have these. They know, hey, these gun people, they like to put Punisher symbols on their grips. Hey, these gun peoples, they like to have pink guns or whatever. It doesn't really have anything to do with motivation or how likely they are to commit a crime. It's just something these people do.
Right. Now they'll still hold their pearls and go, oh, there was a Punisher logo on here, and blah blah blah. Punisher logos could mean this and this, but yeah, it's not going to go very far.
Yeah, it's not. It's just
with
because they learn, and everyone thinks that every prosecutor is wanting to go out there and make something out of nothing. They don't want to do that. They want to have a good conviction rate. If they don't think they can get you, they don't want to try to convict you, because every time they lose a case, well, there goes their raise, there goes their bonus, there goes their promotion. So they don't want to charge you unless they think they can make it stick. Now, they'll use things like the Punisher logo and stuff for public perception when they're campaigning and stuff. But when it comes down to a court case, they want to do what they think will win, and they know stuff like that doesn't win because that their career is based on it.
That's one of the reasons Matt's not showing up tonight, is because he has Punisher logos all over his shit, and he knows it.
I've got a few with Punisher stuff, but I've got stuff with Godzilla on it too. So I wonder what that means. Because I've got
the Godzilla, or Godzilla like some sort of logo or something.
I've got like a Godzilla logo grip on my. It's got like Godzilla engraved onto the grips. So
you had somebody do that, or you did it, or what?
I bought them from Lock Grips. They actually make a Godzilla grip. I don't know. They sent them to me when they first made them, so they knew I was a Godzilla fan, so they sent them to me. I've got them. They're right there. I wish I could pick them up and show them, but they're very cool. They just got it's Godzilla, kind of like, how that's the picture of him where he's kind of curled up, like in a fetal position almost, with his tail wrapped around. It's that, and it's 3-dimensional on the grip.
That's pretty cool. I think it was Kimber back in the day had, I don't know what they're supposed to be, but they looked like reptile scales. Like they weren't anything fancy, but they were just,
I like
grip
that.
pattern was like a ripped reptile scale.
They were on the Raptor 1911s and stuff.
Yeah, they're on 1911s. I just don't remember.
Those were nice. And they kind of reminded me of the, it was like the poor man's version of the Ed Brown Cobra carry.
Oh, see, I don't even ever seen an Ed Brown. I've only seen Ed Browns. I don't. If I've picked them up, I don't remember them. I didn't see anything fancy Ed Brown.
Yeah, I've never owned an Ed Brown, but but yeah, I guess if I ever decide to I don't know, demolish Tokyo. If I'm carrying a gun with those grips on it, I'm going to automatically be empty. The prosecutor or guilty. The prosecutor's going to go after me. Of course, he destroyed Tokyo. He's got Godzilla on his grips. Let's see here. Got an email from Officer Tater Hater here. So I sent emails. Those cops planting evidence need a few months in Gym Pop with Bubba. Yeah, that's a big thing. That is common. I can tell you that right now. Planting evidence when the cops feel they know someone's guilty of something, but they can't prove it. They feel like it's their job sometimes to, well, we got to get them on something. And that was the title of the email he sent. You got to get them on something. And that kind of, when cops start to think that they are more than they are, they start to think they're the protectors of humanity and not just the guys there who help enforce the law and catch bad guys when they've done something wrong. And even then, they're not supposed to determine if someone's guilty or innocent. They're just supposed to say, hey, it looks like this person committed this crime. I'm going to arrest them. And then a judge and a jury is going to decide if they actually did. But it's gotten to where a lot of cops think I'm out here to defend everybody and I'm the law, which they are not. Do you think AI will ever replace Gunsmith? This is Stormin Norman. I haven't seen him in a while. I don't know how AI could replace a gunsmith. I mean, I guess eventually in the future you could get to where we had robots that could completely disassemble, analyze, and repair firearms, but
I'm sure they can already do that.
I'm
already thinking of, like, you haven't seen the robots where the robot has like basically it's two arms hanging down, and then you grab those, people will grab those arms and do stuff, and then every once in a while you tell it to save. It's sort of recording what you're like holding it like a puppet. Mm-hmm. You have it go through some procedure, and then that's like recording. And then you just have it replay that procedure. So if you have it play a harp, or if you have it package things into a box, it's basically two arms coming down and doing whatever. So if I've, and I'm just describing something I've seen on like YouTube videos. So if that exists already, I'd be surprised if we don't already have robots that could take apart a gun and put it back together.
Yeah, I would have to imagine that it's possible, because I already know there's a such thing as remote surgeries where they've got a robot where the robot is where the trouble is. It's like in the battle zone and the doctor is back behind enemy lines, or say in a safe area, and he's controlling the robot.
Yeah, or just somebody who's just such a good doctor, he can't be everywhere, so he does his stuff remotely, and that means that set of arms can do that. So, I mean, that's armorer work, I guess, but that's steps away from 3D printing and having some drills and other tools available to it, and then you going in and describing what you want, and you're taking rods and square pieces of metal and making stuff.
I just don't know if nowadays there's a call for gunsmiths enough to make robots do it, or is it a job robots don't want to take because there's not enough call for it?
Good point. It'll be one of the last ones, I think, unless we get real fast leaps in technology where robots get really good, like data or something, and then they can do everything, and then of course they can do everything.
It's like someone was complaining the other day, they were like, about these anti-gunners and the way they've made society today, it's hard to find a gunsmith anymore. And I'm like, well, it's not really because of anti-gunners. That's just because the industry's changed. Guns are made now where they don't really need, same reason we don't need break-in periods. Everything's made with CNC machines and everything's done to the micron. And so they don't need a lot of care right off the bat. And also people consider them more disposable nowadays, like things like Glocks. I mean, who takes a Glock to a gunsmith to get it fixed? So it's just not as much to call for it.
Modified.
Yeah.
And there's also spare parts. Back in the day, you got some gun, you go back far enough, there are no spare parts for guns, right? You go back kind of far and there's just few spare parts for guns. So a gunsmith would literally have to make a spare part once in a while. Mm-hmm. But name a gun now that you can't just go buy a spare part off the shelf. Like they don't have to make nothing hardly ever. So we're going towards armorers, but it won't be only armorers. I mean, we'll still have gunsmiths for quite a while. It's an art, so I think we'll. Yeah.
But I will say that now that there's fewer of them, the ones that if you do have a good gunsmith in your town, it used to be there were a few good gunsmiths and you could choose which one you were going to. Nowadays, there's like maybe one good gunsmith in your town, and you go in and you go like, I've got this antique gun from my grandfather and I want this fixed. And they're like, great, be glad to do it. You leave it here and it'll be ready to go in 6.5 months.
Well, I've pondered this with Tony. What do you think? I don't think we've chatted about this before, but the population ages, and our parents, like we're old, but our parents are aging out and will eventually be passing in a giant wave because the baby boomers are going to be a massive population wave to pass away. So there's a lot of guns. I guess we have talked about this before. That's going to be a lot of guns hitting the market that are, a lifelong collection from grandpa or whatever. And you're going to have some grandchildren and stuff that want them, and most of them won't. So those gun shops are going to be a weird dynamic for quite a while. We were talking earlier in the show, like or was that yesterday? Our law enforcement trade-ins, the new surplus guns. Well, yes, right. But what's the next wave? The next wave will be the baby boomers collections hitting the shelves. And that's going to be what they grew up with, which is cowboy guns. It's going to be all this crap that they bought for their friends and family, which is all the guns through the 90s and shit, and the 80s and 90s, all those weird guns that we don't pay attention to because they bought them all and they haven't been on store shelves. And then it's going to be a couple of new guns, maybe, that they carry. But a lot of them are carrying 1911s and old shit. So it's going to be all these weird revolvers and old guns and cowboy guns and some weird hunting rifles and stuff. So the question is, will the gun owners of today, who are a lot of them are new, and not a lot of them, but there are a lot of new gun owners, and they came into it from fear of 2020 and riots and whatever bullshit. So they came into it from concealed carry, pretty much predominantly. They came into it to a world of pistols and red dots and grip angles and all that shit. Are they going to give a shit about a hunting rifle or any of that stuff I mentioned? Or is that stuff just going to end up getting like bought by Bloomberg and thrown in the ocean in some symbolic, like, I have the money, I can buy all the guns and just throw them away? Fuck gun owners.
Yeah, it's because what is the hunting firearm market now compared to what it was 40 years ago? I can't imagine it's anywhere near as big.
Can you imagine how many hunting guns are in their closets, though?
Yeah. Oh hell, my father-in-law, he had tons of old bolt-action rifles in his closet. Not just for himself for hunting, because you used to be back in the day, you'd have friends visit from out of town, out of state or something. They'd come down during deer season, and hey, I've got 5 rifles.
Let me get you all a rifle real quick. Yours isn't as good as his, but they're all good. Yeah, like, let's go hunt.
Yeah, so that's a thing. So I don't know. Will they find a home, or will they be like, I don't want that, I don't care for that? It's like with my collection here now. Caden will want most everything I got just because he wants everything he can get his hands on. But there's guns in my collection that he doesn't have a lot of use for. Like, he's not
will immediately be traded for something he does want, right?
Yeah. Well, like, will he take my AKs or my M1As and trade them for ARs? Or take my M1As and trade them for Glocks or whatever, something like that. Because there's just not, in modern gun owners, there's different tastes and different needs and different uses. What did they say? Has money to the green, add money. Okay. Just a lot of that shit is not carrying over from generation to generation. So who's going to want their hunting rifles? Who's going to want, is there even as big a market nowadays for long guns in general? I wonder, because when I was younger, it was mostly long guns, and then there were handguns. They were kind of like your sidearm companion, your backup something for your rifles. Nowadays, I think handguns have kind of taken over the market. And I don't think that was the case 50 years ago, that handguns were the biggest part of the market. But I would say they probably are the biggest part now. And that shift, once the group of people who made hunting rifles, great again, once they're gone, do we have need not only for those old ones, but is that even how's that going to affect the sales of new ones when there's a flood of them onto the market of old ones?
Right. Exactly. It's going to be interesting going forward. And I don't think anybody's preparing for it. There's certainly no conversation talking about it that I've heard.
Well, I've never seen the gun industry. I will say one thing about them. They don't seem to be good about preparing for things in the future.
Not at all. They suck at it. In fact, we're susceptible. The reason we're in the place we are is because of that.
Yeah, they don't see anything past the end of their nose. They're like, what's good for business right now? And they don't think about the future. I think it's because a lot of the gun industry has the YOLO mindset, the you only live once. And I always demonize that mindset in people, because I'm like, these people who, it's such a fatalistic attitude. It's like, fuck, things are fucked and everything's going to shit anyway. So you might as well do what you want when you want. And I'm like, well, that kind of attitude just ruins your future.
I think some of the kids have that attitude, and maybe some of our parents, but I don't know if that's it as much as they've just been given an audience or what do you call it, like a customer base without having to work for it real hard. I mean, they got to bicker amongst themselves, like buy my gun instead of that gun, but people are buying guns for a reason, you know, our patriotism, our fear, our whatever, right? You know, all the reasons we buy guns because we want to make money, because we think they're cool, like whatever. Like, we're buying the guns. They don't have to sell us the guns. They just, like I say, they try to jump up and down to get us to buy their gun instead of another gun. And they take that for granted. And, you know, part of it is the number of people, and the other part of it is the, you know, amount of discretionary income we've got. Like, you know, when we're living through a time when we got money to, like you say, have 5 guns in the garage. Not everybody has the ability to do that. When there was Nugansi you could buy for $68, yeah, I'll buy six of them. You know, I can afford to, you know, not go shooting this weekend.
What I kind of meant by the YOLO attitude is I think some people in the gun industry think, well, 30 years from now, no one's going to be selling guns anyway, so we might as well make as much money as we can now.
Well, I don't know. I've never heard anything like that, but who knows what their attitudes are.
And plus, nowadays, I think it's a lot of the guys. It used to be if there was a company like Ruger or Smith & Wesson or any of them, they were mostly run and populated by gun guys who started the businesses, guys who cared about the business, guys who, you know, liked guns, and, you know, they were happy to work there.
Yeah,
now
they were worried about their next gun, pretty much. Yeah. That was it.
And I think now it's more bean counters and investors that are being catered to instead of the gun people.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. Like, when you go to SHOT Show, you can certainly tell that if anyone were to say, like, the gun industry you can tell they're fake or they're stupid, because the gun industry the only thing gun industry is as diverse as every other part of the world. So, like, you go into SHOT and it's little mom and pop shops, it's big giant things, it's everything in between, it's this side, that side, you know. So it's not, I mean, it's not uniform very much at all. And it's not even uniform in, like, except for in 2013, it was really fucking uniform when Obama came up and said 23 executive actions after that bullshit, like weeks after some bullshit. One criminal did, you know, the one thing that the media says, if you do this here with this item, then we're going to make you infamous. And this one criminal did that. And then Obama said, hey, we're going to use that as an excuse to use executive actions, which was a new thing. And it was the first time since 2004, when the thing sunsetted. But it was really the first time since 94 that anybody had ever done anything. And that was the last time that I saw the industry actually unite behind a thing. But beyond that instigation, like, we're not behind fucking nothing. Not even making money. There's people that aren't even interested in making money. You know what I mean? They got, like, altruistic ambitions and stuff. And then there's some people that just do it because they're going to make their gun no matter what, even if it loses money. I mean, so it's even the ambition of capitalism isn't necessarily, I mean, capitalism maybe, but, you know, the idea of making profit isn't even everybody's sole ambition. So, but like you say, there's people that run the big companies that are definitely not, you know, hey, we're worried about how to make the next thing or to solve the problem for this group of shooters. Nah, they're like, you know, what can we make slightly different, but on the same machines this year?
Yeah, let's make the grip a half-inch longer so it holds 2 more rounds.
Yeah.
Storm and Norman also said here something that I was thinking too, and this is one of the few places that I'm kind of optimistic. I think maybe a lot of manufacturers think that eventually we're going to get to the point where people have the means in their homes to make their own guns. You know, you don't have to go out and buy a gun. You just download a program for the gun and your
for sure
replicator machine makes it, because, you know, how long is it going to be till that kind of technology is available to everybody? There's already miniature CNC milling machines. There's already CNC 3D printers. There's already, all this stuff already exists. It's just a matter now of, since everything exists, when is it eventually all going to consolidate into one machine, and it's something everybody has in their garage, so that if they need, I need a spatula, you go out and push a button and it prints you a spatula. But it can also do more, like, I need a wheel bearing for my car or something else, and it can just print it. You can make it right there in your house. I think maybe the gun industry might someday move to that, where no one has to go buy a gun. So there's nobody manufacturing guns. You just people designing the files and the programs. So to be gun programmers, not gun manufacturers.
Yeah, I mean that's a ways away, only because of materials and that kind of thing. Until we have some massive jumps in material, which we will have. We're not done making new materials. But I was just watching the documentary about Calvin and Hobbes, the guy that did Calvin and Hobbes,
Bill Watterson.
Yeah, and it's an interesting guy because he didn't market his stuff, and everybody has these like different opinions and blah blah blah. So, but the thing is, one of the things they said in there, one of the people commenting on him said he's probably one of the last cartoonists, because his reign in 1995 or ended in 1995. I only know this because I just watched the movie, but that's basically when the internet kind of started up and became an option. So people stopped using newspapers. Therefore, there was no comic sections. Therefore, nobody, and everybody could make their own comics online. And now we live in a world where a Sunday comics just isn't even a paradigm anymore.
No,
and that's going to
never miss the Sunday comics ever.
Oh, people don't even realize that was like such a piece of the world for the longest time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Generations. But that's what I think that's exact an analogy or whatever, parallel to what you're talking about. Like at some point there will only be the remember the Colt style or the Ruger style, because even if it doesn't get to what you were saying, where everybody has it in their home right this minute, what it will be is the gun shop will have all those tools, and you'll go in there and say, I want this grip handle with this red dot and this blah, blah, blah. And you'll have this little checklist or whatever, or even you'll come in with something that you've come up with on your own 3D app or some shit, and they'll just do the job of like, yeah, we make this part in plastic, this part in stainless, this part in titanium, and we put it together for you, we test fire it, and we give it to you with a certification that it's good to go. It was
kind of like a kiosk where you go in and just choose your options that you were
potentially. But yeah, like in other words, the means of production won't have to like be in everybody's home right off the bat before we can actually all deal with that. And then like I said, Ruger and then will be, it's already a kind of a dumb thing to make, think of like the Glock 23 or whatever, Glock 17, like they're making that so that people can take the slides off, so that people can take the triggers out, so that people can take the sights off of it. So that, we all know that, and it's just fill in the blank with any other gun. People are doing the same thing because there's always grips that you're going to get. So that's just the inevitable way of it. It's too personalized a thing, too valuable a thing, too important of a thing. It's not like a spatula, in other words. Like, even though we have the technology to make like a spatula conform to our hand, I doubt people are going to give that much of a shit because they don't use a spatula enough. It's not that valuable. But like a gun, hell yeah, like the shifter in our cars, like heck yeah, we're going to start, all that stuff will be personalized, right? Like, why would you want the same shifter as anyone else when you don't need to?
That's like Caden, Dad came in and says, we need to engrave this shifter. I want to make a custom shifter for my car. That's something he actually did the other day. Because he's like, we need to get the CNC machine going because I want to engrave this on the top of my shift ball. That eventually will be the future. So no point in fighting it. And the government will fight it for as long as they can. But how long can they actually keep that genie in the bottle? That's the thing. It's like, they're already going after people who, if you have a lathe, you might be a manufacturer. You can't get an FFL or you're a manufacturer if you own a lathe. So they're fighting it for as much as they can, but eventually you just can't fight things like this forever. So we'll see where it goes. But I'm slightly optimistic in the fact that eventually, like you said, at least guns, there'll be a shop locally you go to and you order the gun you want. They produce it. I mean, tomorrow, if they discover a material that they can print like it's plastic, but then once it's hardened, it's harder than steel, so they can print it to a certain certain standard, and then it just slides over in the machine, and another machine comes through with a little like mill and
lasers or something.
And just
like graphene. They're already making it stronger than steel. It's a fiber. It's already exists. So
and then it's like, okay, we just printed the barrel. Now it goes over to this little step, and it smooths it out, puts the rifling in it, etc., and boom, there you got your barrel. So I don't think it's all that far off. I think it's being held down. It's kind of like, remember how the gun industry was really held down for a long time about innovation, because you had these laws in place that said if any gun does anything unique that actually makes it better or safer, well, then every gun has to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that really stifled creativity or anything for a long time, because even companies that were like, hey, we're making guns that when you pick them up, it reads your palm print, etc., and only you can use it. And people would send them death threats. If you produce that gun, we'll burn your house down, because that'll mean the anti-gunners are going to make it to where every gun has to do that. And it ain't going to be reliable and blah, blah, blah. So that was the sole intention of that, was to keep technology down when it come to guns. They were repressing advancement. And it worked for a long time, but it's kind of fallen along the wayside now.
Well, just even the laws against being able to carry and carry concealed.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how guns have changed in the 20-something years that we've been able to carry concealed as a nation. They've changed them almost immeasurably. I mean, they look the same, but they're tiny and they're
they're set up different and they're built different. You know, nothing to snag and all this other stuff. And there's some guns I look back on back in the day that I'm like, and I'll say that gun was ahead of their time, because it would fit in perfectly in today's society where everyone thinks about how easy is a gun to carry. But back then it just wasn't that popular, because people weren't thinking of like, well, that gun's great for carrying easily. They were like, that gun's small and plain and blah, blah, blah.
You were taking your guns to the range and you bought a gun because it was in a movie or something.
Yep.
And yeah, you had like but carrying a gun around a gun was never an option, never a thought for people.
Yeah. So people seem to think that in the 70s, everybody was walking around with 6-shooters on their hips. Just wasn't the case.
Now they might have had little 25s in their pocket, millions and millions and millions of them were made. Nobody said nothing about it, and it just stayed in your pocket until somebody tried to take what was in your pockets.
Someone said gun websites, thoughts of being buried with a gun. I think that's a waste.
That's cool. I think that's cool. At least one.
Yeah.
I don't how many. Okay, so you're saying every Egyptian was wrong, like Egyptians were completely incorrect.
Well, I will take the very controversial anti-Egyptian stance.
That's fine, but I think one, it's cool, and two, just in case. Plus, what if you get buried alive accidentally? I'd rather have a gun down there than nothing. Like if you got to make a bunch of noise, you might come out deaf, but at least you'll make some ruckus.
Well, the Egyptians actually believed that, you buried yourself with your stuff because you got to take it to the afterlife with you.
Yeah, so just hang out with it.
If it turns out they're right, I mean, I don't want to go to hell without a gun. So,
yeah, exactly. You want to have a gun with you.
So I guess that would be a good reason to be buried at least with one good rifle or something.
Maybe the first gun you got. I don't know. I don't know what gun it would be. Maybe something your kids didn't want, but I think there's nothing wrong with that. That's
of the guns I own right now, if someone asked me what was the first one of these guns you owned, I don't think I'd be able to say.
Oh, I mean, you can't tell from you don't have a gun from when you were a little kid. I got guns from when I was a little kid.
See, I don't really have. I mean, I have a couple from that I had when I was younger that I could say those are the first ones. But of the guns that are in like here, I've cycled through so many that I can remember what the first handgun I bought myself was.
Yeah.
And I can remember the handgun that I used in this circumstance, what it was. But of the ones that I ended up with, I don't know which one I've had the longest of the ones in here.
I'd have to think about it because I don't remember now. I think I actually bought a bunch at once. But I don't remember.
Yeah, I'd have to think about it. I don't know. One of my Berettas might be the longest gun I've owned. I don't know. Because after a while you kind of forget. I mean, when you first start collecting and stuff, you keep a list, and and then after a while you kind of let the list go a little bit.
The longest gun I have is a Mosin.
The longest, yeah. All right, let me see if we got any questions coming in here. Did you have any topics you wanted to cover tonight when you were coming in? Anything in mind?
No,
because we just talked last night, so it's like, and I'm not seeing any questions coming in really here. Let me look over here on the other side. A grandmother has been arrested for murder. She was driving drunk at 7 a.m. and ran over her 5-year-old grandson while he was waiting at the bus stop. Why do people tell me stuff like that?
Yuck.
I mean,
what's cool though is I was on Gizzards' show in the after chat. When you bullshit with everybody after the show's over. And I was watching my Twitter my ex, and I got on like I must have stayed too long on a positive thing because I got nothing but positive shit. It was like a dog playing with a duck, and it was like a monkey doing something funny. It was like just positive shit for like a half an hour. I was stoked. I hope it would stay on that, but it doesn't. It turns into like people that love Trump, people that hate Trump, all that kind of shit.
The only reason I go to Twitter is to post, tonight's live chat, 6 o'clock. And even then I have to make sure, don't look at the page. Don't look at the page.
Exactly.
Just post it because it's all
my shit is robots like do it for me. And every once in a while I'll go look, but every time I look, it turns into like,
it's just rage bait. That's
it's all
it
rage.
is.
Yeah.
It's all bot accounts, rage bait, bullshit. It's, it's either post like, Trump is the best president that ever lived, and he's curing cancer, and blah blah blah, and everyone going, yeah, and then it's, oh, Trump is the devil, and we've got proof. It's just bullshit. It's just divisive bullshit. It's just giving you a reason to be angry. That's all it is. It's just keeping you mad, keeping you divided, and it's awful.
That being said, they do let you put gun ads over there. So people that are trying to, make a money on their YouTube channel and are getting wailed on, can do stuff over on X. So it is at least, I don't want to say it's gun friendly because I'm not sure they're cool with guns, but at least they're not like hacking it. I don't know about you, but I get like 5 videos a day sometimes taken off of YouTube.
Yeah, I got some taken off today. I got one taken off where I modified a safety on a 1911. Because I bought an aftermarket and it required some gunsmithing to put it on. So I got that removed today. They told me that violated policy because I was showing how to modify a firearm.
I was talking to Clover. He thinks a bunch of them are like what's in our descriptions and stuff. But I'm like, unless they give me a tool that lets me edit my descriptions, I have 5,000 videos out of 7,000 still up there. Like, I'm not, what do you think? I got nothing else to do with my life than to go look at descriptions on 11-year-old videos or whatever. Yeah. Like, give me a tool that lets me click a button and delete whatever it is you don't want, which is probably links to gun shops or something from 11 years ago when you didn't care. Yeah, and let me delete them, and then we'll be fine. But no, instead you're just going to delete 5 or 10 videos a day. Like if we got nothing else to do except manicure, massive archives of videos. But it's their way of combing through and getting rid of all of our history, I guess.
It's slowly deleting the online gun community. Or at least the good online gun community, the online gun community that wasn't talking politics and other stuff. It was, having fun and talking about guns and, hey, this is a cool gun and you can go to this guy's shop and he's got them and all this, it was just gun people talking about buying guns, owning guns, shooting guns, etc. But now it's more about maintaining the gun community standards, gatekeeping and political tests and everything.
Well, they definitely don't give a shit what you say about political. So if you quote unquote are a gun channel and all you do is bitch about political shit,
they're fine with that.
Yeah, they're fine with that. They'll give you all the views you want. Yep. And that's frustrating, and that's what I'm assuming what their stupid policy is trying to make us do is to fall in line with what they want us to talk about.
They love divisive gun talk. They love people who are like, if you're not a white Christian male, you don't have a right to own a gun, or you shouldn't own a gun, or blah blah blah. Anything divisive, anything hateful, they're fine with it. They're anything that makes it less likely that people are going to come together in the gun community. They're fine with all that stuff. If all you ever do is preach doom and gloom, but if you're on there, if you have a sense of humor, or you're just having fun, or you're showing like, hey, look at what this little tweak I did to my gun, this custom thing I did. They don't want that on there. They don't want anything that could actually build community.
Or normalize the things, take rid of the, create awareness and get rid of some of the apprehension or fear, like that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's intentional, but it's certainly creating.
I think it's intentional.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly falls in line with that, whatever you want to call it, like that agenda.
Yeah. Benstrosity says, is there a limit for you on price of your carry gun, as in for the risk of losing it? Well, this is something I can actually answer because no, not for me. I carry what I think is going to be the best gun for the circumstance. It's going to give me the best chance of being able to conceal and carry or whatever, or whatever's going to give me the best chance of being successful if I ever need that gun. I don't consider the value of the gun. And I have lost an expensive gun. I lost the 360 PD. And I'll replace it with something similar, and I'll still carry it, because I think it's about whatever gun. If you can afford to carry a nice gun, I don't think you have to have an expensive gun to be well prepared. But if, say you own 3 guns, and the one that is the most effective gun and the gun you shoot best is the most expensive of the 3, that's still going to be the one I recommend you carry, because it's the one you're going to be most likely successful with if you need to use it. Do you feel differently than that?
I don't know. I mean, I know people that have been in more than one altercation with their firearms. So that exists. I mean, they're real life people and they're not looking for it. They're just like, some people get hit by lightning more than once, but the rest of us are 99% of the time, 99.999% of the time, live to be 70 years old, never have to even think about anything else except carrying it around. So I don't judge off of the worst case scenario, I should say, I guess, necessarily. So anyway, I'm not going to say that every day you go out, you're going to get in a gunfight, I guess is what I'm saying, and that you're never going to get in a gunfight. It's not either of those. Mm-hmm. So if you want to go around with like a barbecue gun, I'm not going to go, oh, you should never do that because tactically it's, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I'm not going to say only buy a police trade-in and train with it. Buy 3 police trade-ins, trade with one of them, and alternate to carrying the other 2 or something. Unless I can't even imagine, like if you're a bounty hunter maybe, or somebody who like might actually have to use your thing and you're somehow frugal, like maybe in that scenario. But the rest of the time, yeah, as long as your gun's capable and you're comfortable wearing it, then good on you. Realizing, like Yankee just said, that you're going to lose it. Like, assume that if you have to use it, then it's gone. I've seen, working at the shop over a number of years, so many of them come back from or be bought from an auction after nobody wanted it after, but they don't take care of it at all. Like, and they could care less. And if they got to spray something on it to do some kind of test or something, like they don't wipe it off necessarily. Like they don't give a shit about evidence unless it's going to affect the evidence. Like they don't care. And if it's something like after the fact and they're just holding it and you're waiting for it, like, and it's rusting out or something, like they don't give a shit. They don't care about optics and all that other shit. They care about it sometimes when it's, going to mess with your case or whatever, but by the time it's evidence and they're worried about you're getting it back, like they care less about if your optic comes back in one piece or nothing. So all of that kind of stuff, assume that it's coming back destroyed if it comes back at all, and you're not going to want it. So yeah, consider it disposable. So if you can, if you got a diamond encrusted meteor gun and you decide that's the one I'm carrying today, well, you better be rich, because
it's like someone asked me, are you going to go back? You better go back and get that 360 PD back from the police. You don't let them keep that. I'm like, why would I want it? It got bashed on the concrete. It got, rubbed on the concrete when I was getting it out of the guy's hand. It got taken by the police. I'm sure it hasn't been treated good there. Why would I want it back? It's so damaged now. Why would I want to go through that process? Plus, why would I want to go to a town that isn't particularly gun friendly and remind them that I got away without being charged with anything when that happened? So I just I'll sacrifice it. I'm not worried about it.
If it was easy, I'd get it back. If it's not
if it was easy, but it ain't gonna be easy. And speaking of evidence, I was at the gun shop yesterday, and I had told everyone that one of the silver bullets got used in a self-defense case. Someone got shot and killed with one of the silver bullets. The FBI traced it back to the only company in the United States that makes live silver ammo, which is Minuteman Ammo. And the FBI agent was like, well, normally we go out and we buy 100 rounds or whatever it is, and we take them and we shoot them through the barrel of the gun we think was the one used, and then we compare them for ballistics. He's like, but these things are $150 a piece, so we are not going to go out and buy 100 of them, so we're just going to take your word for it that this is one of your bullets and that it would have come out of this gun. Because I was just thinking of the FBI going to go buy 100 solid silver bullets at like $150 a piece. But then it's kind of surprised me that they didn't waste taxpayer money like that. But I guess they have a set budget.
I'm surprised that nobody's concerned that there's a werewolf that's dead.
A werewolf. That's what I said. That's the first thing I said. I told Dan. I was like, did you ask him? Did the guy die? And was he naked?
Was he have claw marks and shit all around him, or like?
Yeah. Yeah. Or just naked, because if he's naked, he was probably a werewolf.
Yeah.
Because you shoot them as a werewolf, they turn back to human, where they're not wearing clothes when they're a werewolf. So unless you're being attacked by a werewolf in a tracksuit, should be the sure sign. That should be how you get off. Like, it's clear the guy was a werewolf, the silver bullet killed him, and he's naked. So I was like, that should be a defense in court right there. Felix P says, wow, finally made one of the shows. I also said, sent you a pic of my latest purchase, which I did see. Let me bring that up real quick. Right here it is. He got the new SIG 1911 X carry with custom Cobra grips. He's got a Cobra. I guess he likes snakes. See, I like that. That looks nice. I always like a rail on a 1911. I think they look very tacty cool.
Not bad.
Let's see, where was I at? Vismark Ramos became a new member. That's quite a name. That's clearly German, right? That sounds like a German name. Vismark Ramos. Andrew Avila says, I want that Smith & Wesson engraved 1911. Well, you can't have it unless it ends up being the main prize. Remember, everybody, if you haven't voted yet, go over to my website, tympistolproject.com. No, not that. That's not what I'm trying to do right now. Well, that too. If you haven't gone over and donated to tympistolproject.com to Toy Guns for Tots, or donated on TYMP to Toy Guns for Tots, go on over, do so. We're running the Toy Guns for Tots program right now, and we need your help. Every year, we step in and take up the slack when other big organizations like Toys for Tots and other things won't accept requests for toy guns. They won't buy them, accept them as donations, or distribute them. We step in, take up the slack. We donate toy guns from Washington to all the way to Alabama, I know. So step up and help if you can. Get entered to win one of the prizes that we will be giving away. I should be doing a video in the next day or so on what the prizes are total. Otherwise, like I said, go over there, help, or buy merchandise to help out. Also, while you're over there right now, go click again over to my Patreon page and go to my posts, and there's a poll over there on what the main prize should be for Toy Guns for Tots 2025. So go over and help me decide what we should give away. Someone said, would you carry your Korth in a situation where you know you might lose it? Well, I wouldn't carry my Korth, period, because there's nothing my Korth does better than a Smith & Wesson or my Pythons. I would carry my Python in a situation where I know I might use it, because I do every day pretty much. But the Korth would not give me any advantage in a self-defense situation, because it's more about prestige and precision and all this other stuff of parts, not performance of the gun itself.
Plus, people act like you can't carry another gun. Like, so if you're going to go on a barbecue or whatever, you're just going out with friends and you want to carry a cool gun, carry your cool gun and then carry a cheap ass gun. You're allowed to do that.
Yeah. That's like I always tell people always say, well, beware the man who has just one gun, because he probably knows how to use it. Or I'm like, or he doesn't care much about guns and he just bought some old gun and threw it in a drawer.
I like that thing where it's like one gun, like that doesn't sound like enough guns, like two guns, like, and then he could go around and it's like, no, 5 guns. Yeah, that sounds like about enough guns. And then like one gun, no, that sounds like a psychopath. Like, why would you only have one gun?
Yeah, exactly.
That like joke goes, but it goes around a circle like that.
Yeah. Well, some people be like, well, the gun you learn to shoot with is the one you should carry. I'm like, well, I didn't learn to shoot a Beretta. I've learned to shoot a gun. And I take great effort to make sure I can familiarize myself with a lot of guns, so that if I'm ever in a situation where I'm using a gun, I know how to use it. I don't center all my attention on one gun.
Yeah. Like, tell me you started shooting guns when you're an adult with a handgun, if without telling me you started shooting guns as an adult with a handgun.
Exactly.
Like, so many people never got given a whatever BB gun, regular gun when they were young, and told
so many people have done that.
Don't get in trouble is basically what we used to get told. Like, don't get in trouble. So
I remember we used to shoot each other with our BB guns, and my grandfather caught us once, and we thought we were in trouble, but all he did is he made us go in the garage and get fishing glasses and wear them, because he didn't want to take anybody to the emergency room for getting shot in the eye. Welts and blood and stuff like that, that's okay, but no shooting. So he gave us all, those wraparound fishing glasses, because he was a big fisherman, so he had a bunch of those. So then he just go back out in the woods and shoot yourself with your BB guns. Just don't want anybody losing an eye.
Things that you use like when you're grinding, like they're not really welder's glasses, but they're just for like, basically fragments and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just big wraparound sunglasses. So like you see the old people wear when they've had cataract surgery.
Yeah, and that was enough. Like you say, it's just like, we don't want to pay for no eyes. Like, Go have fun.
Yeah, we're not taking you to the emergency room if you shoot your eye out. So,
And that wasn't something that they grew up with because BB guns I don't think existed back then. So it was just they knew that.
well, the little spring ones, the little spring pump BB guns and stuff, but not the stuff like we had when we were kids. That's for sure. I had the CO2, the pistol. I loved that thing.
Yeah, we had all kinds of stuff.
But that was just the CO2 pistol was just kind of like remember when you had the toy cap gun with the ring caps? The most expensive part, like with owning a gun, that's why I said it kind of prepared you for adulthood because the ammo was the most expensive part.
Yep.
You bought the little toy gun with like 5 rings of ammo, for $1, and then it was another $1 to go get more ammo without the gun. So
when you got to CO2s, then you're, okay, I got the coolest BB gun ever. Oh, but I don't have any CO2s, so all we can do is look at it. So yeah, you learned real quick that you had to you couldn't just keep buying guns. You had to buy CO2s every once in a while. Like you had to ask for CO2s for Christmas, and if you really wanted a lot, that wasn't that's like instead of a gun, I have to ask for like a case of CO2s or something.
Yep, and I remember I had a CO2 pistol, and I loved it. And you could buy CO2 cartridges either in like a little 5-pack or in like a 20-pack.
Right.
And I went to the store, Western Auto, one time to get a little 5-pack because I knew to the penny how much it cost. And I went to the store to get a little 5-pack of CO2 and, nurse it for the next month, so I could play with my BB gun. But they didn't have any. And this was the only place in town you could really get them was the Western Auto. But he had a 20-pack. And I said, well, how much is that? And he told me, and it's way more than I could ever possibly afford. And I said, well, I only got enough money for the 5-pack. I can't afford it. So he said, well, and they were kept behind the counter. They weren't something that was left out. So he goes, well, I guess you can't afford them. And he made a point to sit them down in front of me and then walk to the back of the store. And I picked them up and ran, thinking, but now looking back, I'm like, he wanted me to take those, but because he didn't care. He's like,
no, what do they care? He's happy that the kid's having fun.
Yeah. So I grabbed those bitches and ran out of that store. I remember nursing those for quite a while.
Yeah, we would go. I can remember going to the one hardware store to buy BBs because it felt like we were going to buy ammo because we could go from this one adult, basically a dude, and buy the carton, like the little milk carton of BBs.
Mm-hmm.
And that'd last a while, but still, it felt like a big shot because you go in there by yourself and buy them, and nobody asked you nothing. They'd, here you go, kid.
Yep, I used to love my BB guns, and BBs were pellets too, especially with the CO2. If it had the pellet option, you'd be like, through a 2-inch wooden door.
The only pellet one I had was that black 1911 thing it was weak. They had like the spring, so that was not very.
No, powerful. I had the CO2 pellet. It had BB or pellet, the CO2 thing, and they would propel.
I had that revolver with CO2. That was my only CO2 gun because as soon as I got that one, I realized CO2s were, the pain that they were, and I asked for pump ones from that point on.
Yeah, it was, you had to really pay to keep those in operation. It's like nowadays. It's like,
and you didn't have no rides. Like my grandma was the only way I was ever going to get to the store, and if she didn't really care if I was buying CO2s, I guess I could have. When I was little, though, like my grandma was the only way I was getting to the store, so that's why I didn't want CO2s.
I rode my bicycle all over town from a young age, but Western Auto was my favorite store because not only did they have guns and BB guns and stuff for BB guns and stuff, but they also had go-karts. And as a little kid, I used to look at the go-karts like how grown-ups look at sports cars, like, oh, I wish I could have one of those. I wish I could own one of those. We had dirt bikes available to us, but for some reason, when you have dirt bikes available, you think a go-kart's still the coolest thing ever.
My go-kart was shit, but I never really liked it. I liked that little, I don't know what to call them. They got out of like a little lawnmower engine motorcycle, but they're tiny.
Mm-hmm.
I used to love that thing. Looked like a clown.
Mini bike thing.
Yeah, a little mini bike. Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up riding mini bikes and dirt bikes, but I just wanted one of the really nice, and the ones that look like, they kind of look like, how you turn the Volkswagens into the Baja cage racers.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But it looked like a small version of that. When I was a kid, I wanted that so bad. And there was one in the Sears catalog I looked at every year. But it was
I know exactly what you're talking about. But I knew I was never going to get nothing like that. And I don't know. I always liked the motorcycles better than that. But I was never getting a motorcycle either.
I need advice. Should I buy a Kimber Pro Raptor 2 Carry or the Springfield TRP ACP? Oh, that's a hard choice. I like the Pro Raptor myself, but the TRP is hard to go wrong with too.
I don't know nothing, but I still don't like Springfield. So
yeah, that would be the main reason I would say go with the Raptor is because fuck Springfield.
that was sort of bringing me back to what I was saying. Like, we just don't have a memory, and it's not like we need to have a memory and like hate companies forever. And it's like error once and then they're good to us. But at the same time, we should have a memory. Like,
we should remember people that screw us.
Yeah.
And you don't forgive them.
Not to keep doing it if no other reason.
And you don't forgive them just because enough time has passed, because then everybody who wants to screw you can go like, if we get caught, we have to wait 6 months before we recover.
Let me wait 2 years. Can we fuck you again? Nope. Oh, how about we wait 3 years? Okay, now can we fuck you again? Like, what do you mean? Yeah, okay, thanks, we can.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's people just don't pay attention, like you said. But we're out of time. Time has flown by. So thanks everybody for showing up today. I appreciate it. If you sent pictures or anything via email, which I don't know if anybody did that I didn't get to, I'll try to get to them tomorrow. I do, before we go, I want to read the names of people who donated today to Toy Guns for Tots. So let me sign in there real quick because I do want to say thank you to them. I'll read the orders for merchandise tomorrow with the ones from tomorrow also. I want to say thank you to, let's see here. Johnny Mandrick, Abe DeHelly, Eddie Lee made a really nice donation. Tim Milowski, Neil Breathauer, Tony Z did a really nice donation. Also, Tim Fat Salami did a donation. So I want to say thank you to all of them for donating. And Andrew Payne did one yesterday that I didn't get to. He did a nice donation yesterday that I didn't get to till today because it was after the chat. But thanks to all those people for helping donate to Toy Guns for Tots. And thanks to everybody for coming today to the actual chat. And thanks to G-Webs for showing up. I'll see everybody again tomorrow. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe till I see you again. Please hit that like button and share this video on whatever social media you have. Since this is a restricted channel, you're the only chance we have to overcome YouTube's anti-2A bias and discrimination.